What's up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to the Gaming Brigade. And earlier today I put out a video on how to farm exotics in the game, talking about the catharsis really, but one of my favorite places to hit up are control points because you do face two named enemies before you can clear the thing, and a lot of you are asking what build I was actually using in that footage. Now there are a few things you may not have in your inventory. As always, I will give you different options, but the best part is this gear has been in the game for a long time, so my friends, chances are you have exactly what you need to put this together. Now if you happen to enjoy this video, do me a favor really quick and hit that like button. We have a 300 like goal per video. It really does help the channel out. You can feel free to subscribe or join as well, and we do have giveaways here. Our current one is for an Xbox Series S. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe here or follow on Twitter, and the winner will be announced December 31st of this year. One thing I mention at the beginning of every build video I put together is I want to remind especially new and returning players, this is just a template. This is one of so many different ways you can run with the skill build. A few weeks back, I put together a legendary skill build focusing on the closer, which is the named body armor, which has the talent perfect spotter, which gives you extra weapon damage and skill damage. So again, my friends, try out different things and really, put something together that you enjoy using. We are going to jump right into the build, my friends, and afterwards I will go over a few recommendations I like to pass along to new and returning players. So starting with a specialization, I'm using technician so I get that extra skill tier. And there also happen to be a bunch of reasons as well. If you happen to use this build, which you can on legendary, it gives you an extra 12% damage to drones, skill proxies, and robotics. Remember, regardless of which specialization you choose, always have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you have equipped. Now my primary weapon for this build is the Harmony rifle. This has still eluded a lot of agents for a while. It was a guaranteed drop in one of the previous seasons. It is a Dark Zone exclusive, however you can get it from named caches, so I suggest farming Countdown, buying a bunch of those, and hopefully you get lucky. Now for those of you that may want to farm for it in the Dark Zone on the day the rifle is the targeted loot, remember at this point in the game, any targeted loot that drops in the DZ will not be contaminated, which means that the second you pick it up, it is yours. It's in your inventory. Even if you get taken out by another agent, you do not lose that stuff, so that is another way you can try to get the thing. Now the reason it is so effective is because it has a talent perfectly in sync where hitting an enemy grants 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds, and damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. Now for those of you that would like to throw this build together but you don't have this weapon as yet, just grab any rifle, assault rifle, whatever you want to do, and roll the regular talent in sync onto it. Yes, it does hit a little bit less, but again, it still puts out enough damage to easily get the job done. My secondary weapon is the exotic AR, the capacitor, and this is a guaranteed drop from completing challenges in the summit, so if you haven't done that as yet, definitely do so because this weapon is an absolute monster. Now once again, if you do not have this, just put another weapon in there of your choice with the talent in sync. So you can have a rifle as your primary within sync, then an assault rifle as your secondary within sync, like the Carbine 7. I know a lot of people will have that combination, and you're always lighting up NPCs, which means you're always getting that weapon and skill damage bonus. As far as my handgun goes, I usually run with the TDI card with the talent in sync on it, but I didn't have that talent on the weapon, so I'm just changing it to a D50 within sync. Now going on to the gear itself, you can see I'm running 1 Wyvern, 3 Empress International, and 2 Hannah U. So starting off with the mask, it's the one piece of Wyvern we have equipped, so we get that 10% skill damage bonus. Now this is the best version I have because on this version I could reroll the core attribute to armor, and of course you could have that as weapon damage as well. Now with the attributes, I really wish those first two were skill damage and skill haste. I added skill duration, and again, even though it is not fully maximized to what I would like, it still puts out a ton of damage. Moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 3 pieces of the Empress International. We're using all 3 so we get that extra 10% skill health, skill damage, and skill efficiency. Now as far as the talent, I'm using one of my favorite ones in the game, which is kinetic momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1% and total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. Moving on to the holster and the knee pads, it is the 2 remaining pieces of the Empress International gear set. Now obviously on all of these pieces you want to have at least one of those attributes, be skill damage. Now other ones can be skill haste, skill repair. It's all going to depend on the gear you have, but either one of those, as long as one of them is skill damage, you should be good to go. Our gloves are the first piece of Hannah U, which is going to give us a 10% skill haste bonus. bonus. You can see once again I'm stacking skill damage and skill haste in the minor attributes, and as we make our way to the bag, it's the second piece of Hannah U. It gives us that 10% skill damage bonus, and it's also the named force multiplier bag with the talent Perfect Combined Arms, where shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. Now, as I said before when I was talking about the named version of the rifle and the talent Perfectly in Sync, if you do not have the force multiplier bag, you can just use a regular piece of Hannah U and put the regular talent Combined Arms on there. And again, it's not going to hit as hard. But even having 25% skill damage instead of 30, you're still going to be able to take out heroic NPCs without a problem. Now, as far as the skills go, I'm using my two favorite, the Assault Drone and the Assault Turret. However, if you have other ones you want to use, you can feel free to use whatever you like. Now, as I mentioned in the video, this is one of my favorite builds to use when I'm farming control points and certain missions. And one thing I recommend anytime you're trying out a skill build for the first time, go to a mission or control point that you're not only comfortable with, but also has a good vantage point. So two of my favorite, control points to farm, we have MLK Memorial Library. There's also Sleeping Giant, because I have two spots there that I can just set up shop and just rip through the enemies. As all of you know by now, one of my favorite aspects about putting these build videos together is the family that we have here at the channel. So as always, if you have any tips or tricks you want to pass along to new and returning players, please leave them in the comment section down below, as the main goal is to help out as many people as we can. And as I start to wrap this up, and I know I said this earlier, there are so many different ways you can put together a skill build. I mean, we haven't even talked about using the waveform holster. We haven't talked about different talents on the chest or bag. So this is going to be a series of builds I continue to put together, which could hopefully show you things you may want to try out. And actually, on that note, so many of you have reached out to me asking me put together a Seeker Mine build or Mortar Turret build, a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to be getting to that very, very soon. There are so many different hybrid builds I want to highlight as well. And as always, if you have any builds you want to see or questions, comments, feedback, please let me know. On that note, I'm going to let the rest of the video play out. However, like I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor really quick and hit that like button as well. But most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.
Incoming.